I want to start off by challenge everyone to reread Romans chapter 11. If this one chapter had been believed through the centuries, there would never have been any replacement theology that the Gentile church has replaced Israel. There would never have been any antisemitism, because Paul makes it very clear that God has not rejected Israel, that ultimately all Israel will be saved, that God's covenant with Israel is irrevocable, and that when they come to faith, it will bring greater riches, revival, and life from the dead to the whole world. And he makes it abundantly clear, and this is really most important, that the Gentile believers do not replace Israel. Rather, they are grafted into Israel and now share in the nourishing sap of the olive root. So the Gentile believers are now a part of Israel. They're not Jews, but they're a part of Israel. So any church that works against the Jews in Israel are working against themselves without knowing it. And the Gentile believers, according to this chapter, were to have lived in such a way to show Israel mercy, and in showing them mercy, they would make Israel jealous for their own Messiah. And yet the Gentile church became the worst persecutors of the Jewish people. And so one of the reasons, the main reason I wrote the Your People Shall Be My People book, which you have translated, is because I saw that today is the prophetic time, according to the prophets, for the Jewish people to come to faith. And some people now, there's a study that was given that probably as many as 1 million Jewish people around the world now believe that Jesus is the Messiah. A very small number in Israel, but nonetheless, it's happening. And then I wrote a second book, a follow-up book that you've not translated yet, you may do that, called God's Promise and the Future of Israel, which is simply a follow-up answering some questions that people ask. But the other book that you have there is the translation of the book, The Handbook for the End Times. I wrote this because one day when I was reading the parable of the wheat and weeds, I saw what Jesus was saying when the master told the servant not to rip up the weeds, they might rip up the wheat. Let both grow together till the harvest. And Jesus explains the meaning of that and says the harvest is the end of the age. And the wheat obviously are the righteous and the weeds are the wicked. So what we're looking at is the bad news first. We're headed toward the most wicked generation in the history of mankind. But don't get bothered about that, because this is who you are. We're headed toward the most righteous generation in the history of mankind, which means more miracles, more godly living, all those things. That's what we're a part of. And don't forget, we were commanded to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Psalm 122, verse 6. And Isaiah says in chapter 62, give yourselves no rest and give him no rest until he establishes Jerusalem and makes her the praise of the whole world. And, by the way, don't forget Genesis 12, 1 through 3, that if we bless Israel, we'll be blessed. And one of the reasons why I believe I've been blessed with good health at age 94 right now is because I've been blessing Israel for decades. So I encourage you to do it.
Fă o investiție înțeleaptă. Investește în Împărăția lui Dumnezeu. Pune o sămânță a credinței în lucrarea Alfa Omega.